Again, we want to welcome you to today's team call. And on Tuesdays, we get to hear from Bill Predebon. He is a great guy. I had the opportunity to get a real brotherly embrace from him a week ago, and I still just smile when I think about the opportunity we had to meet face to face. Consider him a friend for a long time now. I've enjoyed what he's taught me and the help that he's been to us in our community. So it was great to actually see him in the flesh. Today, he's here to do our training. He is a person that has years of experience as an entrepreneur, as a team builder. He is a leader in the Arizona area for Renatus. He is reaching out from Arizona across the country now on this team call, and we're glad to have him with us this morning. Bill, how are you doing?
Hello, Ron. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Right on. You can hear me okay. That's always a good thing. You can hear me, my friend? Ron, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you very well, Bill.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Awesome. So, thanks, Ron. Yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you out there at the Leaders Retreat and everybody. I got to. It was pretty exciting. I got to spend a lot of time with people I've known of for a long time, but obviously I haven't met always. So, yeah, let's jump into this, you guys. Welcome to the call. I'm glad you're here. I'm stoked to do this call this morning. You know, I want to start out by saying, you know, you guys, I went out to Cancun last week on Wednesday with my wife on an early flight. So we had a couple days before most people arrived, and then we came back on that Tuesday. And so we flew, you know, we were up Pacific time at 4 a.m. and then traveled all day. And I got home and my relatives were staying at our property, long story, but my sister and brother-in-law were here. We went out to dinner and everything. And then they left the next morning for Texas. They were moving out of Arizona to Texas. So anyway, my long story short is that Wednesday I did the call. I feel bad. I feel like I wasn't on top of my game. So if any of you experienced that, I apologize. I hope I brought a good message and some value, but I know it wasn't my best work. So I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you guys, and for anything, if it means anything, I want to say I'm sorry if I didn't deliver the best I could be that day. I'm going to make up for it today if that's the case. So with that, welcome. I'm stoked to do this training. Like I said, I'm going to talk about it taking work, and specifically using some examples of myself and my team. As you guys know, I love to interact, and anything that is on your mind, whether it's with my training or not, anything that has to do with your business and your experiences that you want to ask a question about, and you would like me to give you my advice or my opinion on, or train on, or elaborate on, then I'm more than happy to do that. Just type it in the group chat there. I'm going to start out with a little bit of a kind of a tangent that was brought to my attention. And I think it's very, very pertinent. It's very, very relative to all of our training. And, you know, it's interesting. So we have this new thing called compliance, and Michael Huggins and the other leaders, Christian Sather, and across the country, they do an amazing job of getting that compliance out there in front of your information. The corporate office does a great job in putting in your back office for you to study it and learn it and understand it. And there's a reason for it, obviously, right? So it's to protect us for the future, so that Renata sticks around for the next 100 years and we don't get shut down or fined, so we can't afford to be a business anymore or whatever. So, you know, but more importantly than that, you guys, is compliance is there because we want to have integrity, right? We want to be honest, and we want to be upfront, and we want to be legitimate, right? And you know, we want people to have a good experience. And so what's interesting is sometimes that doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes, you know, the compliance thing doesn't always happen, but that's not what I'm talking about. But sometimes everybody doesn't have a great experience. And, you know, there's such a thing as a Better Business Bureau, and we've been rated on the Better Business Bureau as an A+ rating. But, you know, Bob and the team our CEO and his team and the corporate office, they constantly have to battle some naysayers out there about Renatus, and spend a lot of money and time and resources on really protecting our name and protecting our brand and protecting our reputation. And so, recently there's been a few bad reviews on the internet, on the Better Business Bureau, and it could be a number of different reasons, right? Number one is, just remember, and we all go through this phase, I believe. I can't speak for every one of you, obviously, but my wife used to joke around that I complain a lot, right? And I may complain a lot to her or out loud, and I don't feel like I'm a complainer, but she does point it out to me that I do complain, especially when I'm driving, right? But complainers don't win. Complainers, they don't really get anywhere, in my opinion. It doesn't do any of us any good. It's a negative vibe. It's a negative energy. It's a negative experience and environment, and nothing thrives in a negative environment. Nothing good, at least, right? And so, if we really take a look at what a complaint means, when we're complaining about something, when we're pissed off, when we're angry, it's simply an excuse, if you will. It's a reason to not look within and look at ourselves and look how we are. And it's easy to blame, right? It's easy to put it out there on someone else, on something else, for some other reason. And it just takes it away from us. It enables us not to feel inadequate or upset with ourselves or disappointed in ourselves or angry with ourselves because we didn't perform or we didn't get the result we wanted or whatever it is. But regardless of all that, right? So whatever reason these folks go out there and they complain on the internet, maybe that's just the way that they are. Maybe that's the way they were taught. Maybe that's their limiting beliefs. That's how they were raised. All of that said, there are still ways we can help them, right? There's still ways that we as a group, we as a marketer running our business, you guys, listen to this. This is so key, right? Compliance falls right into this. If we are absolutely making sure that we're setting an expectation, right? We're setting the expectation. We're allowing them to understand that they have a 7-day right of rescission. We're not buying on, you hear this in, Scott Rose said this, and the reason I mention these folks' names is, right, these are the guys that are Bob taught personally, that are taking his message and his strategies and his training and his teachings and his systems and out into the world. And, Scott says, no, I can't even think what Scott says. I'll get to it in a minute. The 7-day right of rescission, what was I going to say? Setting the expectation. I can't think of it. I'll think of it in a second. But when we let them know what's possible and we set the expectation and we let them know, it's not get rich quick. When we let them know that, this is what he says, right? We don't want someone to buy on emotion. We don't want emotional buyers. We don't want emotional team members. We want intelligent team members. We want educated team members. We want informed team members, and we want motivated team members, right? And Scott says this a lot. And so, although people buy on emotion and we're in the industry of sales, and that if we do not sell them and close them and we do not offer this and we do not ask for the sale, we all know we can't help them at all. We have to get them started to help them. So I get that. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, let's do it ethically and honestly and rightfully, right? And this leads to that no complaints, right? If people have the right expectation and they're excited about what they're buying, and they're buying it knowing that, they might not make 20,000 on their first flip. They might not flip a house in the first day or the first 30 minutes of their life, or maybe it's an hour-long TV show, right? But that they could flip a house in the next, in the next year, in the next 6 months, and you tell stories of people that have flipped a house or done a deal or gotten 5-star qualified in a certain period of time. And then you remind them, it's not typical and it's not normal, or sometimes it's not average, but it's possible. And what are you capable of, as Michael Huggins says, right? And when you say all of these things and you set up the expectation, man, you are under promising and over delivering. And And if they don't have the success that they expect and that they want and they desire right away, they're not going to blame anybody but themselves. And they're actually going to reach out for more help, and they're going to start to get on more calls. And that's going to lead right up into my training about how this takes work. You know, those things we can do as respectful, honest, people with integrity when it comes to running this business and representing Renatus as a 1099 employee and an IMA and fulfilling your IMA agreement by letting people know the truth and being transparent about how the systems work and that they do work, and share those stories of the instant success and the great success and the amount of money and the deals that people have done. But let people know, you know, not everybody does this, and that, you know, everybody has a different story. And when someone says, hey, how fast, I had a guy last night in a one-on-one, hey, how fast can I get a wholesale deal done, you know? And naturally, I went right into my story. I did my first deal in 6 weeks, made $12,000. I studied 3 classes and went and door knocked. And that's how I got my start. And I told him then, you know what, buddy? After that, I didn't sell a house for 7 months. So, you know, you set the expectation, you get them excited, but you keep it on a level playing field, and you let them know the truth about how really things work. And then I told him, you know, depending on how much time you want to put into this, you could do way better than me. You know, you could be the next Phoenix wholesaler, you know, where you're out marketing and depending on your resources. So you guys get my point. There's an opportunity, and this is part of telling the story, you guys. This is part of one of your money-making activities that if you look at the Better Business Bureau and you go on there and you read a review, you know, you can also put a good review. And the more good reviews that you put out there, those bad reviews go way down, and it helps your business, because you will come across people that they're not like me. I don't give a crap. I don't read the internet. I don't care. I'm a personality. I don't look for the negative or anything, and I just buy. Okay, that's just the way I am. If I like what I do, if I like the deal, I'm going to say yes, and I'll figure it out no later, and I'll, you know, hopefully I'll learn from my mistake if I make one. But a lot of people, they're not that way. They research, they develop, they do their due diligence, and they're out there looking, right? So check this out. You know, you can help yourself, because when you come across those people, that could mean a $10,000 sale to you, a $10,000 earnings for you, and a $20,000 sale, and changing someone's life, and they're out looking at negative reviews. It's not going to happen for you. But if your positive reviews are out there and you're telling the story on the internet like you're supposed to, that's a money-making activity. And that's an opportunity for you to put a 5-star rating on Renatus's Better Business Bureau. And the reason I mentioned this is I just went on it and did it this morning. When it was brought to my attention, I'm like, well, I've never done that. I've never gone on the Better Business Bureau. I don't really care about that. But other people do. So why don't I go on there and do a review? And it took me 10 seconds to write a paragraph, put a 5-star in there, and compliment Renatus and submit my review. So you all can do that as some homework, you know, and you can do it in several different, avenues on the internet to help really give Renatus the true story that it deserves. And in the meantime,
last team was talking, but I can't find anything.
In the meantime, that will also build your business. It'll be helping you with students that you'll come across in the future that will be the people that believe everything they read on the internet and will allow the internet to influence their decision. So, you know, that opportunity for you is the opportunity for you to be more successful and have a greater response in your future endeavors with working in your business. Starts with you being compliant, understanding our compliance rules, and then implementing those compliance rules and letting everybody know what the expectation is of Renatus, telling them the stories of the success, and allowing them to understand that, you know, although someone got qualified in 5 days or 2 days or made $100,000 in their first month, you know, the average person makes a few bucks, but it's way more than you can make in most companies. But the next year, the average person makes way more, a few bucks. Right? And you can tell them what those numbers are, because you have that at your fingertips, and you can let people know. And then you can follow it up with another super success story, right? Stories sell. That's the emotion part, but keep it real, right? Keep it real. Now listen, this business takes work, right? And I'm going to tell you, I started in 2008, and for the first 5 years, I remember sitting down with one of my mentors at a bar, a whiskey bar, called, it was a cigar bar. Man, I'm going to forget what it's called. It's right on 7th Avenue. I don't know why I'm forgetting it. And I was sitting with Mark, and he said, Bill, he's like, with your real estate experience, you could just kill this marketing thing, right? And he's like, it's amazing what you could do by, being on purpose in the marketing. And so it took me a while to get that message. And this is 3 years into the business. I accidentally made between, I don't know, $30,000 and $50,000 a year over those course of those few years, 2008 to 2011, marketing the business, retail sales, and bringing people to the events. Now, what's interesting is I was a leader the whole time, right? And the reason I had, there's a lot of reasons, but the opportunity for me to get up in front of the room and tell my testimony was based on a real estate testimony, right? I came out of the gates and I went all real estate, and I had some success in 2008. I had 13 short sales closed. I made roughly $190,000 in my first year, including about 5 retail marketing sales. And so I was able to do some testimonies. I was able to do some trainings on the Super Saturdays, but I wasn't in front of the room, excuse me, telling the story yet and doing the presentation. There were several guys that were already way farther ahead of me doing that in the marketing and everything. And so if you look at it, what happens is, think about my real estate business, full-time real estate business. And whatever it is that you guys are doing full-time, I allowed it to be the excuse that I didn't do the marketing. I did the marketing, I limped in it, I had one foot in the water the whole time, and I never took it serious. And I shouldn't say that I didn't take it serious, but I never really acted upon it. I never made it a 50% plus priority of what I was doing with my time. And so I wasn't putting in the work, and I was getting the actual results of that, right? My retail sales went to nothing. So I had to rely on my real estate business to bring me any money. There's no residual income in real estate until you have rental property. Well, rental property for me, for the first 5 years that I did real estate, was not in my cards. I was a couple $100,000 in debt. My wife and I had nearly $14,000 a month in bills. Literally my break even personally between my wife and I was 14 grand. We didn't even have kids, right? That's how many mistakes I made. And we were just struggling, you guys. My wife and I were both making good money, and with the real estate, I was making multiple 6 figures, and I was just broke. And so buying a rental property was not in my wheelhouse at the time, until I got control of a lot of this debt and fixed a lot of the upside down properties and things that I had. So, when you look at that business, every time I flipped a house, every time I wholesaled a deal, every time I did a subject to and then sold on a lease option, all of these things I did, I fired myself from my job. I had no residual income. I had no systems in place. I had no McDonald's. I was not owning or starting or following any of the systems. I had retail sales. Why? Because people would do what I did. They're going to do what you do, right? When you come in this business and you limp in and you make one sale every 6 months, so are your folks. They're going to follow you. If you're all real estate, if you're all about your job, now don't quit your job, don't get me wrong. But when you're not putting in the time and you're not doing the work that it takes, a lot of them are going to do this. Not everybody. It's never a finite number. It's never a definite 100%. But the majority, they're going to do what I did. And all they wanted to do was buy the education, go off and do real estate, go do some short sales and make money, just like I did. And so that's what they did. And none of those folks I don't even talk to them. Many of those folks that I used to enroll in the education as a retail sale. Now you fast forward, I take a 5-year leave of absence from 2011, March. I made $2,000, I think, in January, February, and March of 2011 in the marketing. I really started to take it serious. I was doing the presentation. I started in 2009, doing the presentation, and we would rotate it a little bit and Mark a lot of, and I would split it. Dr. Gary came into the picture in 2009, I think, and or 2010, and we started running the team. And things were different back then. And then we split up in 2011. As you know, we started Renatus, and I had a pretty good thing going. And then some things happened with my real estate, and I took a leave of absence, if you want to call it that. My real estate business took off in a different direction with a large 47 unit assisted living I bought out in California. And it took a lot of my time. And so, that was my residual income. That was my first large multi-unit that I got involved in, and so I was a big 35% owner of that property, and had to spend a lot of time and energy and resources on it. So you fast forward to 2016. When I started in 2016, and some of you have heard this, you guys, I reinvented the wheel. And if you guys are reinventing the wheel, best of luck to you. But I can tell you from experience and from knowledge and from firsthand experience as well, but also other experiences of others, and now building my team and being around Bob and the systems and the pack leaders and the pit leaders and guys that are not reinventing the wheel, that there's no need for it and it doesn't work. But what I did is I decided that I was going to go ahead and I was going to meet one-on-one with my warm market, right? I knew what I was doing. I was a big time real estate investor. I could share these numbers and the possibility of the Renatus business system, the marketing system, and I could share with people, one-on-one better than bringing them to the event. I couldn't get them to go to the event because I didn't know how to speak the language and I didn't ask the right questions and I wasn't studying it. I was doing it on my own. It wasn't because the system didn't work. It's because I literally wasn't asked the right questions. So I'm like, hey, let's go to lunch. Let's get a cup of coffee. I'll tell you about this business opportunity, right? I didn't build the intrigue. I didn't ask questions. I just started talking to them. So I sit down for 2 hours, 10 different people, and nobody enrolls. Not one person. For the first couple of months back into Renatus. And I go to the meetings myself. I don't bring anybody. But I'm out doing the work. I'm telling myself, don't worry, I'm building a business because I'm talking to people about it one-on-one. I'm working on my warm market, right? And I asked one guy after about the 10th time, and I said, Darius, what did you think? Why? I go, I know you're full-time. He's a full-time tax guy. Stock market guy, and he makes multiple six figures, and he's a good friend of mine, and he's doing fine. I said, why didn't you even consider enrolling? I'm like, he's like, well, it's not that I'm not going to do it, Bill, maybe in the future. He's like, but I said, well, what did you think? Like, what did you think of my presentation? I'm like, why didn't you even just say, you wanted to learn more about it? He said, Bill, you didn't bring any emotion. He's like, you talked fact. And I said, well, I didn't want to talk to you guys about, trying to ask you a bunch of questions and play that game with you and waste your time. I just want to get right to the facts that we could make multiple six figures part-time, working with our warm market together, doing this business. And he said, yeah, that works. And everybody sees it, but there's no emotion there. People act on emotion, right? They want to be inspired. People want to be, they want transparency. They want to be inspired. They want to be motivated, and they want to be moved. They want to be told what's possible and shown what's possible. And that's what the live events do, you guys. That's where bringing people to see other people doing it. It motivates them to move, right? And so I abandoned my own ego, and I abandoned my own decision to try and reinvent the wheel and do it differently. And I decided to join Dr. Gary and the leaders, Kevin and Dave, and follow the system, which is invite people to guest and build for events, right? And so, making that decision, I also decided at that time that, and imagine, these conversations with my wife, with your spouse, whatever, you're not going to quit your job. You're not going to stop your business or your retail store or whatever it is you do for a living on the phone here. You're going to add this business in. So I didn't tell my wife, and my wife and I did not agree that we were going to slow down my real estate, right? Why would you do that, Bill? Why would you go from 5 flips every couple months and go down to 4 or 3 or 2 so that you could do more marketing? You have to build up the marketing. It's going to take time. And why would you give up our means of living? We're on a roll. We're doing well. It doesn't make any sense. So the happy sacrifice is you add it in. You eliminate the fun. You eliminate the nights out. You eliminate the things that aren't money-making activities. You continue doing your job or your work until it can be replaced, but you end up adding in a second-time full-time business. And that's what I chose to do, is I chose to take more work on, right? And in order to fit more work in the same 24 hours that everybody else has, I have to take out some of the other things. One of the things I don't give up is my dog walks. I walk him 1 or 2 times a day for 45 minutes in the morning, and I don't give up the gym, right? And then I don't give up, doing lunch and eating properly, right? So then I have to give up TV, right? Or I have to give up sports, right? I quit playing hockey on Monday nights, right? I quit playing tennis. I not forever, but for a time being, because Thursday nights had to become what I was doing. And so Saturdays, right? I quit watching football on Saturday, going to college football games. I quit those different things I was doing so that I could take on this business. I'll go back to them, right? But I've got to get to a point that I want to be at in the marketing. So it takes a decision, and then it takes a commitment, and you add it in. You add it into what you're doing, but you've got to decide to add it into what you're doing, right? Now, if you move forward in thinking about how it takes work, many of us can quit. Many of us can second guess, and we all do it. Well, and again, I'm not being everybody. I mean the majority or whatever. Please follow me on that. But I got a guy bust his butt, right? It took him 4 or 5 months to find the funding. We tried every avenue. This kid was coming to the meetings all the time. And a young kid, 21 years old at the time. And when he first saw Renata's opportunity. And finally we got him funded on a cash combo. And he started, and he was going to work. He was already bringing kids. And man, I thought he was going to be 5-star qualified in 60 days. He had one guy that got funded, and then something happened. And I won't get into the story, but he backed out of his full funding. Another guy was 100% in and only could afford the essentials. And so he hasn't upgraded, and he's kind of fallen off the path, right? This young guy on my team has the most guests in the room almost every single night. He places sometimes 4 or 5 Craigslist ads. And a year into this, he's not 5-star qualified. He has got a tidal wave of folks behind him that are looking for the funding and have the ability to fund, and he could wind up not only being 5-star qualified, but literally having a $30 or $40 or $20 or $50,000 a month. He has got some solid people in the pipeline that honestly have the opportunity. We have had people right up until the point where they ink the dotted line, cancel, and just had that thing. And he has every reason to quit the marketing. We've worked on a couple of deals in assisted living that we've lost. And he has every reason to quit, but he follows the system and he doesn't give up because he knows what it takes and what the potential is. He knows where he's at. He understands the potential and what Renatus is going to bring him. You guys, he probably has had, I don't even know, 300 people in the room, 200 people in the room. I don't know the number over the last year, and has only had 1 advanced combo sale and has had, I think, 3 or 4 essential sales. He's made some money, but his list of solid qualified people is probably another dozen or so that are in the pipeline looking, but still struggling with a little bit of the funding. Most of those leads are cold market. They are Craigslist. And it goes to show there's about 1 to 2 for every 100 that actually show up. It's a normal number with Craigslist, but Craigslist is a valuable, and I can't even put a value on it, for my opinion, of a marketing tool. In your case, perhaps in your markets, you guys, it's street signs. Very, very powerful to have that cold, 1 or 2 cold market, constant leads coming in of people looking for a job who are never going to fund and never change it, but it's going to change you and make you a better marketer. It's going to make you a better person. It's going to make you a stronger person with a thicker skin, and it's going to make you be able to sort through individuals faster and better and understand people and where they're coming from and have greater stories. It will thicken your skin and make you a much stronger marketer. If you're not working on cold leads, not that you have to, not that you can't just work your warm market, but I'm telling you, having that fishing pole in there will expedite what you're doing in the future. And not everybody on your team, when you're building a team, is going to have a warm market like you do if you have a strong warm market or one that you can fish through pretty well. Therefore, it's going to give you the ability to train your students on their cold market lead generation. And it's just a powerful, powerful tool, in my opinion, that you should be doing, but it takes work. It takes work to do this, right? You have to, I have a guy on my team, and he's awesome. He's halfway to 5-star, him and his wife, and they're just phenomenal. And, you know, they've had some real life things come up. They got married, they've gotten pregnant, they've had some job changes. They've had some setbacks. It's just crazy what happens at life, right? And fortunately, they're not quitting, but they've taken some time off, and they've been discouraged, right? They actually enrolled somebody at a full cash combo off Craigslist using the ad that we use on my team. And then they had a long stint where a lot of folks would come and not show up. A lot of folks would come and we would work with them and we would spend time with them and we would meet with them one-on-one and we would follow up with them and we would get them to events. And no matter what, they physically are not in the able category. They're not physically able to come up with an angel investor, and perhaps mentally able as well to come up with that angel investor. They're not going to have a 401k. They don't own a house. They've never had a corporate job. They've never had the income, the savings, the checking, or the credit. None of those personal resources are going to work for them. And so the only option is obviously make money or try to go through UGA, which they can't afford, a $500 or $600 a month payment, right? Or their next thing is try to save the money, which doesn't happen. Try to flip themselves to a deal. That doesn't happen, right? Nobody's going to flip. Anybody that tells you they're going to, and this is where we got to be honest. And I sit there, I had a one-on-one yesterday and we were talking. I said, listen, anything's possible, right? So we're not going to shut the door on any avenue anybody tells you they want to take. That's up to them. But here's the deal. Honestly, I don't know anybody in Renatus, and it's not on any story that I've seen, someone saving their way to a combo, right? Earning extra money. They might save themselves to a down payment in UGA. Don't get me wrong, but they got to be able to afford that $600 payment, right? So, and a lot of times what I've seen is that becomes a struggle. And I've seen it in UGA. I have a considerable amount of income coming in every single month on UGA to the tune of anywhere from $500 to $1,500 a month on that residual income. And a lot of times it fluctuates. They miss a payment or two. They have to get caught back up. I've had a couple of people fall completely out of UGA. They literally just quit because they couldn't afford it and it wasn't a priority and they weren't working it and it was too much of a struggle. It's a burden. And unfortunately, I don't recommend that unless someone can honestly on a piece of paper fit it in their income sheet. So the point is that a lot of these folks are not going to be able mentally or physically to find that angel investor. And they're going to go a long time and take a lot of your energy to try to get them to fund. And that's okay, but it's discouraging. So it takes work. You have to work through these folks. John O'Neill, an amazing leader. You guys all know him in Utah, co-founder of Elevate, and just an amazing PAC member. A very good friend of mine in the Renatus community. And, he says, I remember asking him one time in 2016 even, when I got back into this, I'm 3/4 of the way in. And, I remember expressing some of my struggles and where I was financially in the marketing. In my first year, you guys, I think it was somewhere around, I actually had a $20,000 a month plus, but I ended up doing about, I can't remember. I'd have to check. I think $35,000 in marketing sales, some $39,000 in my first year in 2016. Not a ton of money, right? And I remember expressing my concerns and my disappointments to John, and John said, Bill, it's worth it. The results, when it comes together, when your team is making sales, when you've got a team behind you, when you're doing direct sales and you're seeing the residuals and you're changing lives, it's worth it. Keep going. It's worth it, right? It's worth the work, but it takes work. When we move forward and we're 5-star qualified, and so, one of the things that I do is I constantly work my warm market. My warm market is not a list that I've made, and I do make a list every once in a while, and I follow back up with it. I will rewrite it. I don't always call everybody on my warm market list, but what I mean by warm market is this, you guys. For me, it's like a 3-foot rule. Now, it's not a 3-foot rule where I'm standing in line at Starbucks and making an ass out of myself and I'm, asking somebody. Nothing wrong with that. There's ways to do it the right way, right? You want to drop some intrigue, gather someone's information, and call them in the future, right? Hey, I met you at Starbucks last week, and I was just thinking about you. Do you go there often? Would you like to get a cup of coffee? I'd love to introduce you to an opportunity, whatever it is, however you bring it up. Or, you mentioned this about your family, and you'd love to be able to go there to Starbucks all the time. Maybe I could share with you an opportunity that might give you the opportunity to do that. Whatever it is, that's great. But I'm talking about a 3-foot rule where my people that I come in contact with all the time, that become my sphere of influence. Generally speaking, it's trades, it's realtors, it's people at the gym, it's people that come into my life or have been in my life that I'm constantly around in some sort of setting, some sort of environment. Whether it's tennis or the gym or hockey, or it's church if you go to church, if it's, and for me, a lot of times it's work. It's my real estate business, right? I'm constantly out in the field, meeting new investors, meeting new realtors, meeting new buyers and sellers, and meeting new contractors. And all of those people become my warm market, and I'm constantly working with them. But I also place my Craigslist ad every 2 weeks. I place the exact same ad that I give to all my team with a few minor tweaks. So, it could be said that, it's saturated. Everybody's reading the same ad, and you could probably go back into Craigslist right now and see 5 of the same ads of mine or more in the Phoenix market in real estate and be like, well, no one's going to call on your ad and someone else's ad, and they're going to think it's all the same. It is what it is. All of those things could be true if you believe it, but I just don't care to believe it. Some weeks I get a couple calls. Some weeks I get 10 calls in the first day. Right? But I just enrolled one of the coolest couples on the planet that I've ever met from my Craigslist ad. Full cash combo, right? And they sent me a text. They're so excited. He brought his mom to the intensive this weekend. It's so funny. He goes, hey, Bill, after 2 weeks, when I first saw this, I said to myself, I'm just going to do real estate. And this marketing thing, this MLM looking thing, he's like, it's just not for me. And he's like, look at me 2 weeks in. I'm like, hey, I want to learn more about this marketing and I want to understand what the IMA is. So we sat down and we understood it and we rolled him as an IMA, and it made sense for him to have his combo again. And then also, he's like, hey, I think I can be 5-star in less than a month. He's like, this seems to be something I could really grab my head around. Real estate, we're going to learn. My wife and I are going to, it's just awesome. They're just a cool couple, and you guys will meet them. And, it was off Craigslist, right? Raphael, Craigslist. Half of my team or more, I could even look at the numbers, are Craigslist, and the other half is warm market. That's it. So I placed the ad. I believe in it. I know it. I've seen it. But if you look at my notes, you guys, I carry it around with me everywhere I go. And I don't even know why, because it sits on the front seat of my truck or my car, depending on what I'm driving that day. And it sits there, and I keep reminding myself I'm going to follow back up. But there are hundreds and hundreds of leads for the last 2 years For 2.5 years, I've been marketing for Craigslist and marketing for Warm Market, and they're on my list, and I carry them around. And that's the experience that I've gone through. I've had to do the same thing as everybody else. 300 or 400 people that I've contacted, that I've called, that I've invited, that haven't shown up, right? Even Warm Market that calls me and says they want to come and they don't show up. I've been working on a girl in Seattle. She's a friend of mine. Her husband stood in my wedding 10, 11 years ago. And she's a sweetheart. I've known her since my Vail days as a pro skier. Her and her husband and I played tournament softball together. We skied together, and I've known her forever. And she hates her job. She's constantly working. And for, I don't even know, 8 months now, I still haven't gotten to her meeting. And she has been booked on several occasions where something has come up. I could give up, right? I could just write her off. But I text her almost every 2 weeks or so. Hey, where are you at? We want to look to this meeting and try to get to this meeting. You've got to see the Seattle team. And I just talk about the Seattle team and the community and the environment and the opportunity. And one day the timing will be right and she'll go. This takes work. It takes perseverance. It takes doing the work, right? But it takes a commitment in the beginning. Whatever it is that you're doing, if you want greater results, right? Just like me, because I've been doing this for 2.5 years straight of marketing. I go to every single meeting unless I'm out of town. Rarely do I miss a property tour. The majority of the tours are mine anyway. And so I have approximately 30 people, I think, you guys, on my team, on my group text. I do a team call every Tuesday night. I remember when I only had Todd and Lucy and maybe Raphael, and I decided to have a team call with 3 or 4 of us. Now that team call I have every Tuesday night. We usually have between 8 and 20 people on it. I've got people in Pittsburgh, I've got people in California, and I've got people here in Arizona. And I have half my team that does the marketing full time, on a regular basis, a committed marketing team, are halfway to 5-star qualified. I don't have a single 5-star person on my team yet. I have many that are very close and have walked the line, right? And I take full responsibility for that. Although it's obviously it's not like there's any blame, but I expected more. I expected more, but it doesn't always happen that way. And I don't quit. They're working hard. I'm working hard. I'm meeting with their folks. We're meeting with their folks, right? We're writing lists down, all of those things. But you would think there are no paths. Everybody's different on what happens, you guys. But if you want the results that you want, like I look back and I'm like, man, I should have been on the pit last year, right? I missed it by $3,000. I made $72,000 and change in my second year back in Renatus. This year, knock on wood, I'll be nominated here, and I'm very close to meeting that full goal. I'm just shy of 50 grand, I think, so far this year. Right now, I just looked at my pending commissions, right? So that's where I'm at. And I work it full time. And I know that in my third year, at the end of my third year, and my fourth year, and my fifth year, that listening to Michael's trainings, understanding John O'Neill and Scott Rowe and the years they put in, and Gary Lawrence, the residuals come. The pit and the pack, they come. If you do the work, they come. You build your team, and you constantly, in my opinion, for me, always keep giving birth to new students, not trying to raise the dead, but giving birth to new students and always having direct sales myself, the results will come that I want. I run a full-time real estate business. I've done over 130 deals. I typically have never made less than $200,000 in real estate each year. And that's on a low year, right? So I've made over 100 times my investment in real estate with Renatus since I started. but I'm just getting started in the marketing. The marketing can retire you. You could never, ever do a wholesale deal or a fix and flip. Never take that risk. I lost 6 figures on one deal once, you guys, right? So you might never have to take that risk and never take any losses and never get sued, because you do the marketing and then you study your real estate and you creatively acquire rental property. You be able to put down payments down because you make an extra 6 figures in the marketing alongside your job, and you get to buy a small apartment complex, a 4-plex or a 6-plex or a 10-plex. And then you have residual income from there. And you have net worth because you bought it with equity, and you forced appreciation by fixing the units or raising the rents, decreasing the expenses, and raising the NOI. And you do that and you become a millionaire. And you never take any risk there. Doesn't matter if the market goes up, down, or sideways. You bought the property right, you learned how to manage it properly, or you put a property manager in place and you built a marketing business. And the marketing business allows you to quit your job in the future. It allows you to have residual income and allows you to do it. But you got to do the work. It takes work. It takes commitment to say you're going to do it. And then once you do it, you do the work. Once you do it, you commit to it and you don't quit, right? I always say never, ever learn to quit. But never, ever learning to quit isn't enough. If you're not doing the work, then you just don't quit. You have a business, you just don't quit, but the business doesn't work. You've got to do both. And you can do it. And it doesn't have to be overnight. It doesn't have to be in your first month or your first year. If it takes you 10 years, right? Like me now, building my marketing business, took 5 years where I didn't do anything. I had to start all over. Whatever it is, if it takes you 10 years and you make $1 million in the business and you've got 50, 60, 100 people on your team, is it worth it? 100%. 100% worth it. Ask John O'Neill. Ask Michael Huggins, Scott Rowe, Mitch Nelson, Nate Lambert. The list goes on. James Lease. I could just sit here and name people across the country, right? We all know it. That's why we're on this call. You guys are doing the work. You guys are doing what you're supposed to do already. You're on the call. You're taking time out of your day. You're going to the meetings. You know what I mean? Just keep it up. You guys are awesome. I mean, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening to me. I appreciate you giving me the honor of being on this call. Please take the time, you guys, to go ahead and go online, wherever you go, Yelp or Better Business Bureau or whatever, put in a good review for Renatus. Share your one line of experience with Renatus. I just think you guys are awesome. Iris, you're very welcome. I appreciate the comment. Thanks, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and type in my phone number for some of you who might be new on the call and let you know what my cell phone number is. And my name is Bill Predebon, and I live in Arizona. I'm going to be heading out to my salon. You guys want to know what's crazy? What's possible? My wife said to me, and many of you heard this story, but some of you haven't. My wife, and I'll finish with this, you guys, it's 5 to 8 rather. You're welcome, Tyler. Check this out, man. My wife came to me and said, Bill, we've been busting our ass for 6 years. It's time that we enjoy life. This was 2013. And she said, I want to get a property in California. I want to start spending more time out in California. And she found a property herself on Craigslist. And she's like, you need to call on this property. I said, all right. She's like, no, you need to call right now. She stood in my office. And I'm like, all right, I'll call. So I called, and anyway, I was looking for a owner financing sub 2 type deal, but I wanted to buy a beach house. And that's what we wanted to do, is own one. And long story short is the guy didn't call me back. I called him back after 2 days. He told me he lost my number. He's like, you know what? The owner might actually do it, what you're asking for. And I said, really, why? Because you asked him? Sarcastically, obviously, right? And I was looking for 20 grand down. I wanted to buy a beach house, and I wanted to fix it up, and I wanted the owner to carry me at 5% interest. And I wanted 5 years, and that was it. And he said to me, Bill, why would anybody in California ever do that? Well, believe it or not, folks, these people do it because they didn't want all the tax ramifications of selling their house outright. And it was a great opportunity. Their house needed work. And you're welcome, Todd. And you guys, we bought that property for $20,000 down. I think it was 25 grand down. And we have a $2,000 a month mortgage. And I rent that property for nearly $225 a month. I mean, a night on an Airbnb, VRBO. We get about $3,500 to $4,200 a month during the winter. And we get to go out there. So we're going to go out there this Friday and spend 5 days at our place in California on the beach, and with 20 grand, $25,000 down. And you can do it too. Anything's possible, you guys. So do the work, stay committed, reach out to your leaders, myself, anybody you need. And I just think every one of you guys is awesome. So with that, you guys, it's 7:56. If there's no questions here, I'll give it a minute. Then I'll sign us off. But if anybody has anything, Udak and Marion, you guys are very welcome. I appreciate the comments, you guys. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. Avi, you're welcome as well. Thank you. I'm just checking out Iris. I said thanks to you. I really appreciate Sandra. You're awesome. I think everything of you, you're awesome. Thank you very much. It's great to hear you guys. And it's great to have you on the call. And you guys just have a great day. Make it happen. Go to work. Do the work. Add it into your daily routine, and you will get all the success you want with Renatus. And stay compliant and get out there and tell the story. All right, folks. With that, everybody, have a great day. Thank you very much. I'll end the meeting, and I'll look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Michael Huggins is going to have an amazing call tomorrow, and Christian on Thursday. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great day.